My name is Chris, and today we're looking at an old, new favorite. Welcome to the Vinyl Attack. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. By now I'd say it's obvious to most of you who follow this channel that I like the Fluance company and their offerings. I've now reviewed 3 different turntables and as many different cartridges for them, along with a pair of their AI-41 powered speakers. Clearly I think they're doing something right as I keep inviting them back into my home. What brings them back this time around? Their new packaging of the RT85 turntable with a Nagaoka MP110 cartridge, or as they're calling it, the RT85N. The first obvious question would probably be, is this the only change from the current model RT85? The answer is yes. They've added an additional cartridge option, and that's it. While that might not seem like a big deal, I would tend to say that might be bigger than you realize. When someone is looking to buy a new turntable, especially at this price range, one of, if not the main factors in a purchase decision is the cartridge that comes with it. Having a quality cartridge means one less thing to worry about and one less thing to buy later for upgrades. Fluance has been riding strong with the Ortophone 2M Blue for quite a while, and a great many people like it. But having an additional option not only benefits the potential sales numbers for a company, it also benefits you by offering more choice. This would be a huge benefit if you like the build, style, quality, and price of the 85, but not so much the cartridge. Instead of having to pay for something you don't want, or purchasing the slightly lower model RT83 and upgrading piecemeal to get what you want, you can simply buy an 85 completely ready to go with a Nagaoka MP110. For my money, this is exactly what I would do. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with the RT85, here is a brief summary of the build features you can expect from this turntable using a nice, lazy insert of past review footage. This table aims to appease as many people as possible using quality parts, construction, and features while keeping the price affordable as well, and I think it does a very good job. The RT85 is a belt-driven model that includes speeds of 33 and 45, utilizing an acrylic platter for lower resonance and direct contact to your LPs for the best sonic connectivity. With a slightly frosted top and bottom, the 3-pound platter, whose weight helps stabilize speed and reduce vibrations, has a glossy edge which adds better adherence to the belt with which spins it to avoid slipping. Concerning the belt, it's fairly trouble-free to put on and get running, and I'm happy to say that you'll also not need to adjust it to change the speeds of the table should you want to break out your favorite 7-inch 45s using the included adapter. Setup of this table was easy and very straightforward with the informative and detailed instruction manual. You'll need to put on the platter, attach the belt, and learn to adjust the counterweight in the back along with the anti-skating feature directly next to it, but do not let this intimidate you. An included feature that many of you have commented on liking is the auto stop. While this is a manual turntable for all intents and purposes, this feature, when engaged, will automatically stop the platter from spinning when a record ends to avoid unnecessary wear and tear on your stylus. To use this feature, it's as simple as flipping a switch on the back, setting the desired speed with the dial, and then bringing the tone arm into position. The table will start from there, and all you need to do is lower the arm, and you're on your way to not having to worry about rushing back to your record should you be in the other room when it finishes. So what are my thoughts then? Well, let's start with the positives. This table, while priced at what many would consider to be the entry point to the audiophile minimum, is built very well. It has almost all the features you could want for the money, it's attractive, and most importantly, it gives you a gateway to quality sound. So then, what is it lacking? As it happens, not much. It took me a few days to adjust to having a belt wrapped on the outside of the platter, as I occasionally pulled it off when removing a record, but my turntable has no belt on the outside, so I simply wasn't used to this. The 85 made me aware of how much of the platter I was touching when changing records. You may need to adjust the 3 feet a few fair times, as the suspension in them that helps reduce vibration also has sort of a sinking feel when first placed down. Again though, this isn't a negative quality, it just takes some patience to account for that action to make sure you're adjusting enough before you try again. Lastly, I'd say that more than anything, I'd love to see an adjustable VTA. This model, clearly in gloss black, is very sharp in its finish, and I'm not the least bit surprised by that, as Fluance take great pride on their products. I also found the cartridge alignment to be almost completely spot on right out of the box. That has been the case with each of my dealings with the Fluance turntables, so if you're newer to the hobby, you should have one less thing to worry about. As for the details on the Nagaoka itself, it is a moving magnet cartridge with an elliptical diamond stylus that tracks extremely well and offers up fantastic channel separation. It has fairly standard tracking force of 1.5 to 2 grams, and I ran this one at 1.9 with zero treble. It has a standard load of 47,000 ohms and a capacitance of 100 picofarads, but mainly that is to say it will work with pretty much any phono preamp you throw at it. But what about the value? The 2M Blue costs roughly $65 more than the MP110, so clearly you get more value with the 2M Blue. I don't agree. Monetary value is only one of many factors in choosing a product, and it's not always the most important. In this instance, I think the sound of the cartridges far outweighs the perceived cost difference. You're paying the same amount for either table, so going with what you think sounds better is more important than arbitrary worth. That said, you're probably more curious about the sound now, as I did say before that I would go for the RT85N over the previous model. Why is that? Quite frankly, I'm just a much bigger fan of the Nagaoka. I think it has more depth, more clarity, cleaner bass, and more punch while still boasting an accurate high end. It handles a wider range of albums with more even sound and is more forgiving with lower quality pressings. I also find it to have a much more balanced presentation overall, probably due in part to its operating at a half a millivolt less output than the 2M Blue. While the 2M Blue does indeed have adequate low end, good clarity, and a bright top end, I just personally feel that its overall bright soundstage is too much for me and it falls victim to the Pepsi challenge. What does that even mean? Well, if you're of a certain age, you'll clearly remember the Cola Wars of the 1980s. While it started out much earlier than that, the mid-80s is when it really hit its peak. Pepsi signed many large pop stars to represent their brand and went very heavy with airtime showing the Pepsi challenge. The idea here is that a person would take a single sip in a blind taste test from 2 plain cups and then pick which cola they liked best. The results came quite a surprise when Pepsi was chosen more often than Coke, and Pepsi went to great lengths to tell you about that. There was just one problem. It wasn't necessarily a fair test. Sure, it was fair as in the people were real, the colas were real, and the tests and test results were indeed real, but the scales were tipped right from the beginning. Pepsi is a much sweeter cola than Coke, so the majority of people only taking one sip decidedly liked this more, only having a brief impression with which to judge. However, over the course of an entire glass, bottle, or can, people tend to like Coke better. How does this relate to our topic of the day? Well, Ortofon almost seems to take a Pepsi-style approach to their cartridge, at least their entry-level ones like the 2M Red and Blue, which, interestingly enough, are Pepsi's chosen colors. They bring out a much more lively tone rather than a balanced one, boosting the mids and top end, which gives the first impression that you're getting a massive improvement in sound after switching from an entry-level cartridge to one of these. Closer to the truth, however, is that you're just getting more sugar in the first sip, at least in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that the Ortofon offerings aren't an upgrade from whatever stock cartridge from which you may be switching, but when you're switching from something that sounds dull and lifeless, you're of course going to like the Ortofon that much more. That's also not to say that the 2M Blue is a bad cartridge. It's one of the best-selling cartridges available at the time, if not one of the most popular upgrade cartridges going. It has excellent build quality and a well-earned reputation. It just simply doesn't fit my tastes. It's just too sweet, so to speak. So which should you choose if you're on the market? Well, as always, I'm afraid that's completely up to you. What I would recommend, though, is taking an Ortofon for a test drive. It would be ideal, of course, to hear both, but listening to the 2M Blue before making a purchase decision, even if you can't hear the Nagaoka, can still help with your choice. The 2M Blue is available almost everywhere, which should make it easier for auditioning at one of your friends' houses or the local hi-fi shop. If, after listening, you like the bright, lively tone of the Ortofon, there's your answer. But try to listen for a while before making that decision. Come back to it later if you can. Don't just rely on one sip to assess the flavor. It's clear what my preferences are, but with sound and tone being so subjective, you might not agree. And since your opinion is the only one that matters, you need to make that final choice, whether it's for a new generation or not. Yeah, I've got Pepsi dad jokes too. Something that isn't funny but is still entertaining is today's sponsor, Skillshare. If you're not familiar with Skillshare, they're an online learning community that offers thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people alike. If you're like me, and I know I am, learning new things all the time is almost as much as a passion as hi-fi systems and record collecting. After writing a multitude of reviews over the past year, I've decided to start the long-delayed process of learning how to write a book. While I don't expect to be the next John Grisham, getting started is always the first step, and the latest course I'm taking aims to help. Best-selling author Mila Goldberg's Creative Writing Bootcamp is targeted at people just like me, and these are the kinds of instructors you can expect to find on Skillshare. Skillshare isn't just for people who want to be public content creators either. If you're into photography, illustration, creative writing, even marketing or productivity, Skillshare has a class for you taught ad-free by creators who really know their stuff. And right now, if you're one of the first 1,000 subscribers to click the link below, you'll get a free 1-month trial. Not 7 days, not even 14 days, which is their standard, but a free 1-month trial to check out all the classes and topics that Skillshare has to offer. So as you're on your way down to the comments section to tell me what you think about the Fluance RT85N, make sure you click on the link in the description box to take advantage of this offer, and thanks to Skillshare for making it possible. Thanks to all of my patrons on Patreon who help make these videos possible. Thanks to you for stopping by to watch, and I look forward to next time.